305. Barrett Brooks, Breakfast on Broad. BB, what's up, man?
What's going on, guys? Good.
Not too much, BB. Let's start with that. Just read you off some scores here: 45-17, 45-14, and 40-17. And also, this offense, this Chip Kelly offense, has scored over 30 points just one time this season. That was against the Saints a couple months ago. What do you attribute that to? Is that lack of playmakers? Is that the NFL catching up to Chip Kelly, BB?
I think it's two things, man. It's talent, number one, and number two, lack of discipline. You know, I sat back and evaluated what was going on out there, and it's the lack of discipline that these guys have, and the lack of talent that they have to really execute what they want to do on defense and offense, especially on the offensive side of the ball. There's just no fundamentals taking place on this team to really put them to the next level because these guys are very undisciplined. I'm a firm believer in the practice habits that you have going to dictate how you play on Sunday. And the same thing is happening in these games. I don't believe in Chip Kelly's system in which they go out there and practice, and they don't go over the play again if they mess up on the play. They wait till they go into the meeting room to make adjustments, to correct players. You can't do that. You need the muscle memory to run in and play again. You need to know what might happen if you run it again because it's never going to happen at the same time. And then you commit it to muscle memory. You commit it to your mind. So if the same thing happens during the game, you already know what is going to happen, what potentially could happen, and you're ready for it. Perfect example, New England winning the Super Bowl this year. The same thing happened with that quarterback running the play in practice, and Belichick made him run it 2 or 3 times until he got it, and then all of a sudden, what comes out in the last play of the game, the same exact play. He was ready for the circumstance and played all he really could have been playing at and won the game for that team for a Super Bowl. It's the same thing going on with Chip. Chip doesn't do that. They correct themselves inside the meeting room instead of correcting on them out on the field, and it's really hurting them at this point.
Yeah, I think, Barrett, when this offense gets going, when it's humming, you know, with the crossing routes and stuff like that, it's moving, right? But I think when you get inside the 20s is when it really struggles. What do you make of the Chip Kelly offense really struggling this year? Is it the lack of a running game with the DeMarco Murray situation, which we're going to get into, and Ryan Matthews really hasn't looked all that well coming off the concussion, but is it the running game or is it the lack of playmakers? Or is it both?
Well, it all starts with the run, man. And when you start off with the run, you have to start off with the offensive line. This is an inferior offensive line of what Chip Kelly's used to having. He stepped in and got Andy Reid's offensive line, in which he had a couple Pro Bowlers in there, potential Pro Bowlers, and guys that could really play the game. Well, these guys aren't playing. Lane Johnson is playing okay. Peters is playing okay at times when he's healthy. Jason is getting his butt kicked all over the field. And just the fact that the two guards, are subpar, and Tobin should not be on an NFL roster. So that's just my assessment of what's going on. It all starts in between the lines with the offensive line, and when these guys are playing bad, they're playing really, really bad, and it's direct reflection on how many times Sam Bradford got hit and how many times these guys are getting hit at the line of scrimmage when they're running run plays. The fourth and one is a perfect example of how they couldn't get any movement. They call the wrong play, number one. They call a play, and then Bruce Arians calls a timeout. They run the exact same play that they were going to run before, bring Cooper in motion, to have him block the edge, run the Tobin side, and you expect to have great results. Come on now. Why won't you go to your potential Pro Bowler side on Peter's side? And if you look at it, Selleck was on Ertz was on that side. They blocked it pretty well on that side, and you go on the opposite side. Come on now. It just doesn't make sense. Why run right when you have a Pro Bowler at the left? It just doesn't make sense.
Barrett Brooks joining us here on the Sports Bash. Scott Grayson and and PG sitting in for Mike Gill. Barrett, you brought up the 4th and 1 play, and I wanted to go back to that a little bit further. If there's one thing DeMarco Murray has done well this season, he's, I believe, 12 of 12 on 3rd or 4th and 1 plays. Were you surprised that he was not out there for that play, particularly since that's something he has been able to do?
Oh, absolutely. That's his skill set. That's what he has been able to do. One of the few things that he's contributed in a positive way. He's a guy that can go in a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, goal line situation. He's going to stick his head in there and potentially make the first down. Matthews, he may be the bigger back, but why even chance it? Why not go with a guy, even if you are going for it instead of kicking a field goal? Why would you go in with a back that really hasn't shown the same results as you have with Murray? Murray's the better back in those types of situations, and his numbers are what you perceive to be very, very good. 12 or 12, I'll take them odds every time. Why wouldn't you have him in there?
Kind of following up on that, Barrett, what do you make of the whole thing with DeMarco Murray at this point? Is he doing any good by being active when he's only getting on the field for, I think, 8 snaps?
Well, it's situational football. He just hasn't had that opportunity to go out there and really do anything because they only ran the ball 19 times. And if you listen to Chip's press conference today, he said they were supposed to be averaging, and this is in his mind, this whole year, he was thinking they were going to run the ball at least 35 times. If you run the ball 35 times, then, yes, you'll have an opportunity to give the ball and disperse the ball to a multitude of backs. But since you only run it 9 times, he doesn't get the ball until halfway through the third quarter. Yes, he doesn't play any special teams. He might not be somebody that you want to dress on Sundays simply because he doesn't bring anything to the table in which would help this offense in between the lines. You have to be realistic in that outcome that he's not producing enough to warrant him being on the 43-man roster on game day.
Yeah, Barrett Brooks, 21 carries last 3 games for DeMarco Murray. I mean, this guy was the rushing champion last year. He's getting paid $20 million guaranteed. And they showed him on the sidelines last night, BB, basically checked out. He's wearing that ski cap. He's looking around at the stadium, watching all those people file out. Are we headed for a divorce? I know the cap hit is pretty severe, but obviously these two parties cannot coexist next season if the coach is not willing to tailor his offense for DeMarco Murray. What about the future of DeMarco Murray, BB?
Well, they have to keep him. His cap number is just way too tight. I mean, even though Chip Kelly's failed to the GM in that aspect of bringing DeMarco in, if you really sit back and evaluate the film from last year and compare it to this year, there's really not much of a difference. He never has been a burster, a blazer, a guy that runs fast. He's more of a guy that's consistent running downhill, gets warmed up as the game go on with the more carries that he has. He's that type of running back. And especially with that offensive line he had in Dallas, of course you're going to play better because those guys didn't have him getting touched until the second or third level of the defense. So, of course, he's going to play better. He shows the same skill set, the same speed, the same lack of elusiveness as far as, the quick twitch that he's showing this year. It's just he had a better offensive line, and that's the gist of it. He knew what he was getting. Chip Kelly knew what he was getting. I think he thought he was going to perform a little better, and I think Chip really underestimated the fact that his offensive line will play this back this season.
Let's stick with the running game, but over on the defensive side of the football, the run defense, David Johnson last night, BB, 187 on the ground. You go back to the Tampa game, Doug Martin, 235. The Panthers game, Jonathan Stewart kind of tore you up there. How about this rush defense, specifically, obviously, the inside linebackers, D'Amico Ryans, Kiko Alonso, Michael Kendricks. Are those guys killing you in the run defense, BB?
Oh, my God, man. I mean, I'm looking at the film, man, and Kiko Alonso, either he's not healthy, man, or he just can't play this game, man. I mean, it was a poor excuse on how his run fits were, how he was attacking the line of scrimmage. That play when they scored, he pulls his hands out and lets the running back just score because he didn't want the face mask penalty. Hell, give me the face mask penalty. That way, what are they going to go, up 3 more inches and start all over again? Come on now. You got to give me a break, man. Go up there and make the play, hit the guy in the mouth, and stop playing like a punk, man. Go through somebody, run through somebody. Get in the weight room, go to McDonald's, eat a couple of vanilla shakes instead of drinking those protein shakes he's been drinking through Chip Kelly's sports science, and be a baller, man. I'm tired of everybody making excuses on, they need to do this, they need to do that. No, sometimes you just got to hit somebody in the mouth. When all else fails, go back to the basics, go back to the fundamentals, which is football. Running, tackling, hitting, and imposing your will and making somebody else feel inferior, man. That's what you do out there. You smack them in the mouth and line up again and do it again. I don't see that out there. I didn't see it yesterday. Hopefully, Michael Kendricks said that they're going to do it this week against this Washington Redskins team. I'm ready to see it. Make me a believer. I'm from the Show Me State. I'm from St. Louis. Show me something, Michael Kendricks.
Hey, Barrett Brooks, speaking of hitting somebody in the mouth. Got to ask you about what happened yesterday in that Giants game. From a former player's perspective, what do you make of the way Odell Beckham played, and to an extent Josh Norman as well? And what do you think the league should do at this point about one or both of those players?
Well, I'm all for a competitive spirit. I'm all for guys going out there and fighting every play. But, once you take it outside of the framework of football and you're really trying to hurt somebody, that's where I draw the line. You never do that. You never hit a guy openly like that and spear a guy, and then launch yourself at another player. You guys are friends, friends first, not necessarily friends, but your coworkers, you're out there. You never want to hurt somebody on purpose. And that's what I saw yesterday from Odell Beckham. I understand you get a little frustrated, man, but you're a pro now. You can't let your frustration deter you from playing football. And what I saw out there wasn't football. That was him going out and virtually fighting the game. There was no technique involved when he was trying to do. There was no in the spirit of the game in which he was out there doing. That was just him being an idiot out there. I don't think that they're going to go ahead and suspend him a game, but they should, fine him pretty heavily. I mean, at the very least, anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000, because he got 3 unsportsmanlike calls. He wasn't playing football. He was swinging. He was punching. He was hitting after the play. Those are all things you don't need in this game, Keep the integrity of the game, and what I saw out there was not the integrity of the game. Like I said, I'm all for the spirit of going out there and trying to impose your will on somebody, hit somebody in the mouth, from in between the lines in a legal standpoint. But, no, that's not what I saw out there. That wasn't football.
Let me ask you a little bit of a follow-up. Adam Schefter's been tweeting about Panthers players apparently have been bringing baseball bats onto the field during warm-ups to symbolize that they are, quote, bringing the wood. If, as a former player, if you're out there minding your own business, trying to get yourself ready to play, and you look across the field and you see a guy swinging a bat in your direction, does that send a message, or is that perhaps, Odell Beckham kind of taking things a little too far again?
Let me tell you this. And this is from my Steeler days, but I wish somebody would try to do something like that, or try to really go out there and even make a reference of them doing it. The game wouldn't start, I promise you. The game would not start. I played with Joey Porter, James Harrison,
yep,
Casey Hampton, guys who wouldn't be having that. When I practice, man, I guarantee the practice I had during the week was far harder than it was playing in the game. We knew we were playing against the best defense, and they were playing against the best run offense. And that's what the game, and that's how the game should be played. We were going to impose our will on everybody. We didn't need cheap props. We didn't need anything. When we stepped on that field, we knew we were the better team to get out on the field. We knew we were going to go out there and hit you in the mouth, and we were going to do it legitly and within the frameworks of the game. Now, all that right there, you don't need all like that. Play the game. Go out there. See who's going to win. May the best man win. We don't need all that, bro.
That was all 325 pounds of Casey Hampton, wasn't it, BB? That's a guy
Absolutely.
Who goes to McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Wendy's. He doesn't care, doesn't he?
Well, let me tell you this. We have to weigh in every Thursday during the season, and each pound that you are overweight is 989 pounds. Well, just put it like this. Casey used to bring a blank check in at the beginning of the season and just hand it over to the weight room coach. And at the end of the year, I think the last year I was there, it was like $32,000. So just to let you know, he wasn't playing around, and they knew, hey, when it comes time to get in between those lines, Casey Hampton was going to be there no matter how much he weighed. So that really didn't make a difference. It was all going to charity anyways. He was going to write it off anyways. But that just goes to show how these guys go in there and take care of business. Joey Porter would have hit a guy in the mouth, he'd have brought a bat on the field, because that he feels as though you're trying him, you're jeopardizing his safety. Now you're not talking about football. Now he's going to take it outside of football. So you don't need all that. All that showmanship, just go out there and play the game, and you'll be fine.
So BB, sticking with that, in your opinion, this kind of cheapens Carolina? I mean, they're a great team. They're undefeated, obviously, but this kind of cheapens Carolina with the baseball bats, and I don't know if you're a fan of Cam Newton dancing after the touchdowns and all that nonsense.
Well, you know what? I don't care anybody about the dancing and all that stuff. Just like Cam Newton said, if you want them to stop dancing, then stop them. And I'm for that. But bringing out bats and stuff like that, come on now. What type of example are you trying to show for the younger generation of football players trying to come in? It's hard to really, be a good leader and a great role model to kids, and you're bringing out bats to practice, I mean, how do they take that? How do you get an immature kid that's going to bring a bat to practice, when he gets a Pop Warner and things of that nature? It's just not a good look. It's not a good look for the Shield. And I tell you what, they need to do something about that from the NFL standpoint. You don't need all that stuff. You're a good enough team. You're a good enough defense. You have a stable offense, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Is up for probably MVP of the league. Just go out there and play the game, man. You don't need all the, showmanship or props and all that stuff.
Barrett Brooks, Breakfast on Broad. See him every morning on the Comcast Network. Let's go back to the Eagles here. I don't know if listen, the Birds had the momentum from New England and then the win against Buffalo, but then I guess they lost all of that momentum. How hard is it to get that momentum back in a must-win situation against the Redskins? Because if you lose, you are eliminated from the postseason, Barrett.
Well, they need this motivation, This is one of the few times when I don't think that this team is going to lack any motivation of going out there and playing hard. If you look at the games they won, they had something to prove against the Patriots. They had to go out there and prove to the owner, number one, that they were a good team. He's going home. He wanted to show them that, they got him fired up. He got him fired up in the locker room, so that gave him a little more incentive to play, playing angry. Then the next week you had Shady. Shady comes in, mouthing off with the head coach, so those guys had something to rally behind there. This game, they're not going to need anything to rally behind it. This is win or go home. This is win or you're out the whole situation. So they have an opportunity to go to the playoffs, and once you get into the playoffs, everybody's record is 0-0. Nobody is better than anybody else during that time period until you get between the lines. Then talent takes over, fundamentals take over. And that's what I think that this team is going to go out play hard. They have an opportunity to beat this Washington Redskin team. They're not as good as what they showed at home when they play it away. Kirk Cousins gets flustered a little bit for not playing in front of his hometown, his home field people. So I think that the Lincoln Financial Stadium can go out there and really be a factor in hurting Cousins. And then if they can play fundamentally sound defense, the run, and Sam Bradford continues on the upswing and getting these balls to these guys, even though they're not open, and have the opportunity to have them catch them, there's a really good chance that they can take it to the next level, win this game, and win out and be in the playoff.
Barrett, when you look at the job Sam Bradford did, particularly last night, there were some throws he made. A back shoulder throw to Brent Selleck that was right on the money with the guy right on him. Some of the throws to Jordan Matthews on the first drive looked really good, that were right where only he could get them. Is Bradford, you got to obviously take the interceptions out of it. He knows he can't do that, can't make that kind of a bad mistake in a game. But are you starting to see something out of Bradford that makes you think, man, maybe he's starting to turn the corner just a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. If you look at the big-time quarterbacks, they've been in the system for more than 3 years. Here we are expecting Sam Bradford to come out after missing 2 seasons. And if you look at his career being with the Rams, he didn't have the same offensive coordinator for the same year ever. So maybe he's getting a little consistent because he's being around the offense a little more. He's understanding what things are going. He understands the pace now. It's all about things to him now, and he understands what's going on. If he had a better offensive line, you'd probably see an even better guy. But he got beat up a lot. He's still stuck in there. You can't really question his toughness. You really can't say anything about him getting hurt because anybody else playing behind that offensive line will be crushed. So I just think he needs a little more time in this offense, a little more time and really getting accustomed to what Chip Kelly's trying to run, what he's trying to execute, and get some playmakers behind him. He can be a really good quarterback in this system.
Last one for you, Barrett. Barrett Brooks, Breakfast on Broad, Comcast Network. Pittsburgh Steelers, Antonio Brown yesterday, 16 balls, 189, 2 touchdowns. They're in the playoff chase right now. They can clinch the playoffs next week with a win against the Ravens and the Patriots if they beat the Jets. And this is, again, an offense that's missing Le'Veon Bell. They're actually better kind of without Bell. How about Pittsburgh and a playoff run for the Steelers?
Well, look, they're playing pretty good on defense. I wouldn't say they're playing lights up, but they're playing pretty good on defense. And I'll tell you what, Big Ben is a player. I mean, he is a player. And the symbiotic relationship he has with Brown is unbelievable. That might be the best quarterback-receiver tandem in the league right now, bar none. I'm talking about even better than the Patriots and Gronk and Brady. Those two play well together. They understand where each other's going to be at. They understand how to take control of the game just between the two of them. I like what I saw with Brown. He's by far, I think, the best receiver in the league, even better than Beckham, even better in receiver in the league. Antonio Brown is the measuring rod as far as receivers in this league at this point.
All right, Barrett Brooks, Breakfast on Broad, Comcast Network, weekdays from 6 to 8. Thank you, BB. Have a happy holiday, okay?
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. Have a happy holiday, man, and I'll talk to you guys next week, hopefully.
All right, there he goes. Barrett Brooks, Breakfast on Broad.